Vishal, over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Vidya, for the introduction. Hello everyone. This is Vishal, as Vidya just mentioned. So, let's start. I hope you are all excited. I'm very excited to meet everyone. Let me share my screen. Okay, so Vidya already gave a brief introduction. So, let me just start. So, so how we'll do it is I have slides and we'll also do hands-on. As the session says, that it's an introduction to automation. So, I hope everyone has at least heard about the automation. I don't think it's a new term, right? But still, we'll start from basics and then as per the questions, we'll deep dive. Okay. So as Vidya already mentioned, I'm a 3x UiPath MVP. I was a LinkedIn top voice as well. And feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. This is my QR code, which you can see on the right side. And if there's anything that you need after the session as well, I'll be happy to connect. All right. Okay, so let's start. So this is the agenda. Like we'll talk about Studio Web, the basics. We'll build one automation as well, so that you get a hands-on. And then if the time permits, we'll publish the automation and things like that. But mostly you'll get a hang of it, of how the automation works and what exactly it is. Okay. Okay, so let me see. I think this panel. Let me bring it down. Okay. Okay. You guys are able to see the screen properly, right?
Yes, Vishal, it's visible.
Okay, perfect. So, all right. So basically, in general, what is automation? So normally, there are two kinds of work, right? We do work which we need to do, or we need to do smart work. And all of us would agree that we want to do smart work. We don't want to do mundane tasks. What is mundane means? It's a repetitive or boring task. So in terms of college, like writing the journals is a boring task, right? If you could delegate it to someone, then that's a smarter way to do it. Not that your professors would agree to that, but in general, anything which is repetitive and which is not interesting, right? That is a mundane task. So traditionally, there was no way of delegating a mundane task. You need to do it. Like suppose you need to copy notes or do some repetitive exercise wherein you want to download some information from the web and store it somewhere else and things like that, right? There was traditionally no automated way of doing it. But with automation, you can delegate it to a robot. So this is not a hardware robot, but a software robot, and that robot will do the work for you. And you can do some other value-added tasks rather than doing this kind of repetitive tasks. So that's basically the crux of automation, why we should be using automation. So just a few examples like downloading and renaming files, filling some online forms, copy paste from Excel into website and things like that. These are very easy to do automations. Suppose you have a shopping website, like suppose you are going to Amazon, right? And you want to get a list of vendors who are selling you iPhone and you want to do a cost comparison, or you want to create a chart for that and things like that. So it's very easy. Within few minutes, you can create an automation for that. Get that data downloaded from the Amazon website or any other website, fill it into Excel, and then from the Excel you can then do the comparison, create charts and things like that, right? So those all things you don't need to manually go and search everywhere. It's easy to kind of build an automation around it. So this is one example. So basically, we are using technology or software to do your task, and you basically, as you can see here, is a smiling person, right? Your bot is doing the work, and he's kind of he or she's kind of just overseeing it if needed. So you don't need a constant human intervention, but if at any place you need a certain decision where the bot cannot take the decision, or you need human to intervene, then you can just delegate that task, right? Otherwise, you can have a fully automated process, or in which case you don't need any human intervention, but in case there is certain intervention needed, then that is also possible. So it allows you to run your process smoothly and efficient. Okay, so as we said, it eliminates repetitive tasks, frees up for essential work, and leads to productive lives. So basically, the idea is that you do certain more value-added tasks rather than doing the mundane or repetitive tasks. That's why you go for automation. Why is it a game changer? It revolutionizes. Sorry, I'm not able to produce the word. It revolutionizes the business and individuals. It leads to increased efficiency and accuracy by reducing human errors. So one very important example which we give is if you have a human doing the task, then human can only work for a certain amount of time, right? You can work for 8 hours, 10 hours, 20, 18 hours, but then you need to take rest. But with in case of a robot, the robot can work almost 24 hours. You don't need, the robot does not need to take rest, right? So that is one advantage. Second, if you have a human working, then the human can fall sick and the human can make some errors. Sometimes if we have a bad day, we can make some simple mistakes, right? Because we are all humans. But in case of a robot, it will not make mistake as long as it is running the process which is defined. So that is a big advantage. With humans, you cannot be 100% sure that you might be very good at your task, right? But you can sometimes make mistake, and that's human to make mistakes. So that's okay. But in case of a bot, that human error angle is eliminated altogether, right? So that way the bot can do the task and you can then work on some other stuff which is more interesting for you. And basically, as I said, your bot can work 24/7. It does not need any holidays. It can work over the weekends. It will not complain regarding heavy work and things like that. So it's a win-win situation for us. Okay, so how can it help me? It can help you as a person for your job satisfaction. You don't do any boring tasks like doing copy paste stuff, filling forms, things like that. You can work on certain cool technology rather than working on some boring tasks. You have more opportunities and reduce stress. Ideally, it's a reduce stress, but I know that these days you might have stress in the other stuff, but ideally you will not get stress from this kind of manual stuff. You can kind of make your life easy basically. Okay. And it will save cost because once you automate a bot, you can have the bot run multiple processes. So you you create a process, then the bot is working on that process. So the bot is supposed taking 10 minutes to work on that process. Then you might have another process where the bot is taking 20 minutes to work on the process. So if a human is working, then the human will work on a certain area or certain aspect of the work. Wherein suppose I am working in, suppose, the college, because you guys are students, so I'll take that example. So suppose I am a professor of data structures. So I'll mainly concentrate on data structures, and that will be my primary focus area, or that will be my primary technology. In case of a bot, the bot can work on multiple areas, right? So suppose I might have, the entire college has multiple professors working on different subjects. Similarly, the bot can have multiple processes which are working on different, each process is independent from each other, but the bot is not, it's not specialized on only one process. The bot can work on all of the processes, and you're not limited. The bot is not limited that it will only work on, say, HR related processes, or it will only work on payroll related processes, and so on. The same bot can work on all types of processes. So that's an advantage as well. You are not limited to one certain area of work. So that's a big advantage, and that leads to increase in efficiency and enhance compliance. Compliance meaning is certain compliance or certain rules which the organization has to follow. That bot can make a check so that we don't miss on that, because compliance is very important. In case the organizations do not follow the rules and regulations, then they can be penalized heavily. So that is a very important area which where the bot can also help. Increase scalability, improve scalability in the sense that you have one process being worked by one person, right? But the bot can work on 10 different processes. So you are scaling it up. You are doing more work with one bot rather than having 10 people working on 10 different processes. You can have one person or one bot working on 10 different processes. And it's an optimized resource allocation as well. So I'll take a pause here. Any questions at this point of time? I know that Vidya mentioned that we'll take it at the end, but just in case there is something, I'll take a minute. Let me see the chat. Explain everything from the basics. Okay. Yeah, I've taken it from the basics, Krishna. All right. And okay. Okay, I'll take it as a no. I don't see any other questions in the chat. So let's proceed. Okay, so just few examples what a robot can do. If you want to log on to any application, if you want to move files or folder, read or write to a database, scrape data. Scrape data meaning get information from a website and put it into some other, say any Excel sheet, any notepad, Word, and so on, right? You're scraping the website. You can connect to APIs. APIs, I hope you know that they are application programming interface or the way of connecting. Instead of a UI connection, I'll use a REST or a SOAP connection to connect and get the information. One interesting aspect is extract content from documents, PDF, emails, and forms. This is very important. So there's a product called Document Understanding as well. So in case of organizations, each organization will have some payroll department, right, where they are engaging with certain other vendors. So they will be sending the bills for that, or be getting the invoice for the service. Suppose I'm working for a software organization, so I'm doing a project. So then my company will. Sorry, is there a question?
No.
Okay, sorry. So suppose I'm working in an organization and then I need to send a bill for my work, right, which I've done. So normally that is the invoice which is sent. So, and similarly, I will be getting the invoices from other vendors as well, right, for any services that I'm taking. Suppose I'm working, having an organization. So I might have stationery being delivered to me. I might have the electricity or other things which is being sent, which is being provided to me. So I'm the consumer in that case. Whereas in the other case, I am the provider, where I am providing services as a software organization to the other organization. So I might be a consumer or I might be a provider. In both cases, I will have the bills or the invoices being exchanged. So if I am the consumer, then I'll be getting the invoice from the vendor whom I'm taking the services from. And I will need to process that vendor information from that invoice information. So invoice information will be nothing but if you have ordered from Amazon, you would have seen, right? You get that invoice or the bill. The bill will have the details of the product. It will have the line item. So that is like a semi-structured document because your top level information is fixed, wherein it will have your name, address, things like that. But your bottom level information is dynamic because you might order for different products from Amazon, right? That is not fixed. It's not that every time you'll order the same product from Amazon. So the line level information, as they say, that is the dynamic part. So that all information, if extraction has to be done and then processed and things like that, that can also be done through automation. So that is very important for organizations because invoices are being worked day in and day out. And to do that manually, it's a very time consuming and an error prone process as well. Because as I said earlier, humans can make mistake and that can lead to a lot of implications. So suppose I have to pay $100 or 10,000 rupees to a vendor. And if by mistake I pay 1 lakh rupees, right? Then it's a loss for the organization. It's a big loss, right? It's just 1 0, but it can create a big loss. So that kind of error should not happen. So that's why if you have a bot and if the bot is uh, created for that process, then that kind of errors can be eliminated. And any approvals and things, only that place the human will need to be involved. Okay, just an example, then open emails and attachment, make calculations and so on. Okay, so I think next we are talking about Studio Web. So I'll just take one more slide and then directly we'll jump to the Studio Web because it's a lot of theory and I don't want to bore you with a lot of theory. So in this panel. Okay, so now what we are going to talk about is Studio Web. So UiPath, as you know, is the leading RPA and AI vendor, and you guys are coming here to learn more about that. So what is Studio Web? Studio in general, not only in UiPath, but in general, Studio is your development environment, and Studio Web means it's a web environment. So basically, what do you need for a web? You just need a browser. So you might use Chrome, Edge, or whatever. Firefox. You just need a browser and that's it for you to get started. You don't need to do any installations. You don't need to install any dependencies and things like that. So that is the first and foremost advantage of using Studio Web. And second one, it is very intuitive. So you don't need to be very deep into coding. if you just understand the certain basics, then you can pick up Studio Web very easily. It's very easy to create automations to Studio Web. And third advantage of Studio Web is it's cross-platform. So I might develop on Windows, but then deploy it on certain other environments. So like say I might go to Linux and so on. So that's how it is very advantageous. So let's directly go into Studio Web. And if there are any questions, I'm not seeing any questions. So let's go into Studio Web. So this is the UiPath Studio. Let me just start from the beginning. So this is my homepage. So once you have an account created, on UiPath, you will be, once your account is created, then you will be landing onto Automation Cloud page. And Studio Web, if it's not added, then I'll show you where you need to go to admin. For me, it's already added. So, but if it is not added, then I'll go again slowly. Once you create an organization or you create a tenant in UiPath, you have this admin option, because if whatever services you need to add to the admin. So once you go to the admin, this is your tenant. Tenant is like your C drive in Windows. So basically everything is within tenant, but you might have partitions in your Windows, right? Similarly, you can have multiple more tenants. So I might create more tenants as well. I'll not create it, but I'm just showing you. So just like we create multiple partitions, similarly, I can have multiple tenants as well. So let me go back. But for now, I have this one tenant. And then if I go to services, and here I have added a few of the services, but in general, if I go here and click on add services, from here I can add multiple services that I need. Okay. In case of Studio Web, you will not need to do it because that will come by default. But in general, any other services that you want to add, that needs to be added from here. So for now, I don't think you need to do this because Studio Web is enabled by default. So let's go to Studio Web. If you go to the left panel, this is the Studio or the Studio Web. So you have to click on this. Okay, so this should open the Studio Web. Okay, so this is open the Studio Web. So you'll see two tabs here, Workspace and Templates. And these are the automations which I already worked on or created. So how do you start is you have to click on this Create New. And once you click on Create New, you get options, multiple options now here. So we have agentic process, agents, RPA workflow, and app. And agentic process or agents is the new buzzword now. You have thinking agents. These are the processes which use LLM for processing. So RPA is more procedural, like you create an automation and you define the steps. Whereas in case of agentic, you define the prompts, and then based on the prompt, the automation will take certain decisions and then call your automations as well. So for now, we will work on the RPA workflow. So which is the one which we are talking about. So just click on RPA workflow. Okay. So then it asks you for a trigger. Trigger meaning it says that how do you want to run the automation? Do you want to run it manually? Manually means I'll go to the automation and say run. You want to schedule the automation. In case you want to schedule means suppose you want an automation to run every day at 6 p.m. or you want to run an automation every 2 hours or every 5 minutes. So that kind of scheduling can be done. There's a third way to do as well. If it's an event trigger, means suppose an email lands up and then you want to trigger the automation, that can also be done. For that, it is triggered through integration service. So that's a separate component. For now, let's start with manual trigger. So we'll just create an automation and run it manually. So this is a manual trigger. So this brings the canvas. So here, as you can see, this is the canvas from where you can do the development. And if you see here, this is the Project Explorer. So just like in Windows Explorer, this is the Project Explorer, and this is the main XAML. This is the main XAML is the file from where your process will start. So just like in any programming language, you will have an entry point, right? And you might have different functions getting called. Similarly, this is the main entry point. From here, you might have other XAMLs. Each of the XAML, here the extension for the files is XAML, okay? So you don't need to worry much about it, but you just need to know that by default, your process will start from main XAML, okay? Then if you have any errors, this will show you an errors panel and the change history and so on. So let's do one thing. We'll create an automation. What I'll do is I will download an attachment from my email. So let me show my inbox. So suppose I'm sending the use case, what I'm going to work on is I'm getting an email with attachments. Okay. And I want to download this attachment and upload it to my Gmail OneDrive. Okay. So Google Drive basically. So what I'll do is I will download this experience.xls. It's a simple sheet, and then I'll upload it directly to my Google Drive. Okay, that's what I'll do. So let's do that. If you have any questions, just feel free to stop me, but we'll start otherwise. Okay. So, so basically what do we need is, we obviously we want to work on Gmail, right? So we will need certain activity to read the Gmail, right? So what we'll do is, we will use download email attachments. Okay. So what I did is I clicked on this plus mark, if you have seen, and then if I had already used it, that's why this activity is on the top. But if you're not very sure of your activity, what you have to do is you just need to prompt with whatever you know. So suppose I want to do download email attachment, right? So it will, if you see here, it will automatically show you the activities which are relevant for that particular prompt or what that particular search criteria that you're using. So here what I'm doing is download email attachment. Here the first one is 365, means it's an Outlook attachment which is being downloaded, but I'm using the Gmail attachment here. So that's why I'm taking the second option. But in case you want to use Outlook, then you can use the first option here. So, and that is also possible. And before I go into further details, if you see here, there are a lot of activities here, lot of things which can be done, but we'll go more into that details later. I'm just showing you the basics to get you started, basically. Okay. So here what I'm doing is download email attachment. Then I have a connection already, so that's why it has taken the connection. But in case, so let me do one thing. I think if your connection is not there, so basically when you're downloading email attachment, basically it will ask for the Gmail connection. So first time when you do it, this will not be there because I am already have a connection. That's why it is showing me here. So let me do one thing. Let me delete that connection so that you know how it looks first time. So I'm going to integration service. So underline it is connecting through an integration service. This is a separate product from UiPath. So here what we are doing is we are having connections to the respective end system. So like I'm connecting to the Gmail, right? So I'll have a connection here. So see, this is my Gmail connection and I was using Google Drive. So that's why I have a Google Drive connection. I can also have a connection to GenAI. Suppose I want to send a prompt to ChatGPT, get a response, or send my email content to GPT and then see the tone of how the, suppose I get some email, right? And then I want to determine if the tone of the email is positive, negative, or things like that. So those can also be done. Anyways, so let's do one thing. I'll delete this connection. So that you'll get an idea of how it will work exactly. So I've deleted the connections. I don't have a connection now. Let me go back to uh, Studio Web. Okay. So we were, I think, working on this one, the top one. So now you see it is not having the connection. So that's why it's saying connect to the Gmail, because I don't have any underlying connection to the Gmail. So that's why first I'll need to connect to the Gmail. I'll need to give the permissions and then I'll be able to work on my automation. So here, what you need to do is simply connect to Gmail. So it will ask for a permission to connect to the Gmail. So you'll say just connect. Then I am already using my, I have to specify which Gmail I want to connect, and then it will ask for a specific permission. So I'll say continue. So it will say that you trust, because basically you're using a third party to access Gmail, right? So that's why it's asking you for if you are trusting that. So you'll say yes. And that's it. This is a one-time activity. So now further any automations that you do, you can simply directly use the Gmail connection, which we did here. So just like that. Okay. So before I download, what I have to do is, it is asking me for the email message. So what I'll do is, first I will, before I download, I have to do for each email, because um, I need to know which email I need to download, right? So basically, and which mailbox. So I'll use for each email. So again, see, now it has automatically taken the connection, because it knows that this is the only connection here. Suppose I had multiple connections. Suppose in that case, I would have to go into the drop down and select the respective connection. But because it's only one Gmail connection, then it will understand that this is the default connection. And it's, if you can see here, it's also showing the default. Then it will automatically populate, because the connection is made. These are the folders which are already created in my mailbox, but by default it's taking inbox. In case I have some another folder and from where I need to download, I can use that as well. Okay. And here there is a filter. So this is very elaborate. If you can see here, suppose I want to have certain criteria. Suppose the email is sent from a particular person. So the from criteria, the from contains, so here suppose contains, suppose a specific person, then I can give that. Or suppose this, if the email is older than certain days, that criteria I can do. So I can do all kind of filtrations which I want to do. Okay. So, and suppose the attachment has something specific, that also I can do, and things like that. So for now, what we'll do is, we'll simply use the subject, because I'm using the subject of, say, experience. Okay. So I'll just say, if subject contains experience. Okay. So I have pressed enter. It's not showing here, but that's fine. It has taken that, but we'll see that also again. We'll reopen and see. So see, now edit one filter condition. So that filter is added now. If I come here, now it is showing. So what I'm saying is, get me the emails from my mailbox with the filter criteria with where the subject contains experience. I can do the reverse as well, does not contain experience, and so on. So all kind of I can add multiple more conditions as well. Suppose subject contains this, and attachment is this, and this, or and or conditions, both conditions I can use. Okay. So both can be possible. And then there are certain additional properties. If I just expand this drop down here, so I want to limit, suppose how many emails. I don't want to go to 100 emails. It should be within the top 10 emails. I'll say that. And then there are certain other options. So include subfolders, only include the 100 emails with attachments as true. So I know that I'll be having an attachment. So let's say with attachment as true. Then important, start, and after reading the email, do you want to mark it as read? So that also you can do that. Okay. So multiple options are there for you to do. It's very easy. You just have to, as I said, just drag the activity and then use the options as per your requirements. Now what we want to do is, we want to download the email. So what I'll do is, I'll drag this activity here. Okay. So let me, yeah. What I've done is, in this scope, I'll get an email, and after that I get the email, I want to download the email. So now if I click here, so see, this is, I'm doing a for each of my emails. I'll get a list of emails, right? Because I have multiple emails. So maximum emails I'll get is 10 emails. And obviously if there are with attachments, that filter criteria I've used. So now what I want to do is download email attachment. Suppose, so here I have to give the email message. So for any for loop, we will have, so it's already, if I just click, it's directly prompting me. This is my for each email. And then this is the current email that for each email I'm going to download. So in my case, I'll get only one email because there's only one email here. But in case there are multiple emails, it will loop through and download for all of them, because we are within the for loop here, right? I hope for loop and looping is simple, right? Even it's not very difficult. Like for each email, as it's all in English, right? For each email, which is in the inbox, with this criteria, I want to download the email. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. So I'm downloading the email attachment, and then again, if I want to do filtration or add other more properties, I can do that. So once I have downloaded, this is the output. So each of these activities has an input and an output. So if you see on the top, I was using for each email, and the output is in this number of emails processed. Then again, I'm using download email attachments. The input is all of this, and then output is the attachment. In this case, we'll use the attachments. Now, once I've got the attachment, what I want to do is, now we want to upload it to our Google Drive. So I don't know, suppose the activity, but I know that I want to do upload. Okay. So see, now it's giving me options because I just said upload. So I'll say upload. Yeah. So now I'm saying I just gave a prompt of G because I want to upload to Google Drive. So now it gave me the relevant option here. So upload files to Google Drive. Okay. Similarly, if I want to upload to OneDrive, SharePoint, I want to upload to Amazon Workspace, or there are multiple other options, but we are using the Google Drive here. So I'll just click here. Okay. So now, but because again, this is the first time I'm using, it will ask me to connect to the Google Drive. Just like we did the trust for the Gmail, similarly for OneDrive, for Google Drive, we need to do that. Sorry, I'm always saying OneDrive because I use that more, but yeah, it's Google Drive, what I'm talking about. So again, the same process, connect it once. Okay. So now it is connected. Okay. It should, yeah, now it's connected and it's using that connection which we have created. And now I have to give the file. So now again, I don't know what I need to give, but it will prompt me. So see, download email attachments is there are multiple options. This is the previous activity which we used. And then we want to use this attachments which we have downloaded. So I'm just clicking on that attachments here. And I want to suppose go into specific folder, then I can choose that as well. But I'm just for now giving the my drive. Okay, that's it. So now before we start or run the automation, let me see if my Google Drive has this file. Not then start. I don't think I have, but we'll just quickly confirm. No, it's not there. So what should happen after we run the automation is the attachment will be downloaded and it should be available here in my Google Drive. So let's go back to the automation. So now that's pretty much it. We have created the automation. If you want, we can keep it a log message as well. So click here. That's the log. Log message is just you want to log something on the screen that uh, like just like any programming language, right? So, just giving this message. You can even send an email to say your automation is completed and things like that, right? So I'm just logging this message. Okay. So now let's see this. So now there are these options here: test on cloud, test step by step, and publish. So test on cloud is dynamically UiPath will create a virtual machine where this process will run. You don't have to do anything. Test step by step is it'll execute one step, then wait, then you say next step and so on. So step by step. And publish is you publish to the orchestrator and run it from the orchestrator. But when you're testing, you can directly use test on cloud because you don't need to because you are the testing it here, right? So or if you are facing issues, you can use step by step as well. So we'll say test on cloud for now. So certain packages or things which it is needing, it is doing that pre-work because we are using certain connection, and then it will start the process. So now it's saying RPA workflow 4. Now the process is started. I think we have kept only one log which is created here. Automation is completed. Please check Google Drive. So I think the automation is completed. Okay, let's see. In the recent one, it should show. There's an option of recent. One second. I think there are multiple ones, so it's run once, but I think I should see. Let's refresh it once. Yeah. See experience.xlsx. This is the file which is now uploaded, which was actually from this one. So what actually happened is we had this running in the loop. So that's why it is printing it multiple times. And we had this one file experience.xls that needed to be uploaded. So if you see here, it is uploaded here. And actually speaking, it should not log this, but what is happening is in the loop, I have not put a condition. I should actually put a condition that only if if it was downloaded and uploaded properly, then put this logger. But I just put a blank logger here, right? So that's why there are multiple loggers. So this is how easy it is to run the automation. And let's do any questions on this, or we can now what let's do is go here, and just like in any programming language, you can put breakpoints. So add breakpoint. Suppose you face some issues or you want to see step by step. So let's do now the other way around. We'll do step by step. So now we are doing a step-by-step run of the same process. In this case, as I mentioned earlier, it will wait at after every step so that you can see what is happening. So suppose, see, it is the manual trigger, so it is paused here. So it's just starting. So I'll say next step. I will control in the way in which the automation is running. So I'll say next step. Then I'll say next step. So see, when I did next step, this first step is done. So I can see here, this is successful. Okay, then whatever next step is running, that is working. And then what I can do meanwhile is, after this step, suppose I want to see what is the value of the variables, right? So there is this watches panel on the right. If you see, there I can see what is the value of the variables currently. So suppose let's do a next step. So see, now the attachments is populated, and I can go ahead and see the details of that. So see, it just take a second for it to populate, but as soon as it populates, it will populate with all the values for this attachment. So I can dig down and see what is happening actually behind the scenes, right? So let's do a next step. Now next step is on this upload files. Okay, so what was the output for the upload files? Was the files. So this, if I want to see, yeah. Okay, in the current scope, so let me do next step one second. Actually, I came out of the scope, but in general, I can specify what variables in general, the main variables, it will auto populate here. That is one thing. And then suppose my run output, I want to see, I can come back here and see the run output. Then this is data manager. Suppose you want to use certain arguments or variables, right, that you define here. So this data manager is here. And what connections I'm using, that I can see here. So I'm using two connections. One was the Gmail connection, which is here. And I was using a Google Drive connection as well, which is here as well. So those connection, I can have entities. So I can use the database within UiPath and store that values into database as well using entities. You can have arguments passed from outside. Before you run the process, you can have dynamically pass the arguments and so on. So that will come here. And variables, of course, whatever you're using will create variables here, right? And this is the properties panel. So let's stop this now. So for each of this activity which I'm using, if there is, I want to see the details, I can, by default, actually now the properties are part of the activity only, but in general, if there are certain things which is not visible here, then that can be seen from these properties. And then you can share your automation with others with this share option and this submit as a template as well. So template is very interesting. So let's go, let me show you here. So this is how we created a simple automation, but suppose you are starting and you are not very sure, then you can come to this templates tab as well. So templates are predefined automations which UiPath is already providing. And what you need to do is just use the template and then customize it as per your needs. So suppose see, this is agentic automation template, table extraction from Salesbook. So suppose you're not sure, but just suppose let's say this, get latest exchange rate via HTTP request. So I'll just click on this. Okay, what it's saying created by UiPath, used in whatever this some information. So what this is doing is get the latest exchange rate from the chosen currency against USD and format it to print in order. So what I need to do is nothing, and it does not require any configuration. But in case it requires any configuration, so suppose I'm reading from Gmail, then just like I did in my earlier project, I will need to create a connection to the Gmail. But in this case, it's not using any connection. So I'll just say use template. So here it's automatically creating the automation for me. So I don't need to do anything basically. I'm using this. I might need to customize it as per my needs, but it's already ready to use kind of. So suppose I don't need any customization, I can directly do a test. So what I did is I did use template. It got all the steps already created, and then I was able to use it. See, it's successful. So this particular case, they are doing a USD to Euro conversion. So that's what is printed here, but you might customize it for any other conversions and so on. Another interesting aspect within the templates is autopilot. Okay. So till now, what we did is we created all automation step by step. But suppose you want to use LLM or you just want to use prompt, like you use ChatGPT, right? So in this case, you just say, you tell the UiPath what you want to do. So the same automation that we created, let's see if UiPath is able to create an automation for us. So I'll say read. So I just need to give the prompt. So I'll say read my Gmail and check for email containing the subject experience. If found, then upload this attachment from not this upload the attachment from this email to my Google Drive. Okay. So what I have done is I have just told Autopilot that what I want to automate. I'm not very clear, or I'm not very say tech savvy or whatever. I just am maybe plain lazy, you can say. So what I'm doing is I'm just giving my requirement as an automation, and I'll just click on generate, and let's see the magic happening. Yep. So you see here. So after doing it generated the workflow. So see, if you see, it's almost similar for each Gmail with experience in subject, download and upload. So basically, we also had 3 steps. Autopilot also created the 3 steps for us. And I think this panel. So yeah, then there is this cancel or continue. If you're happy with what Autopilot has created, just say continue. Now, because I have one connection, it is understanding and it is automatically using that connection. But as I said, if it had multiple connections, then you would have to select it. And certain things you might have to customize. So suppose if there is an error, it will say here. So there's an error here. So suppose see, it will show as a red mark. What is the error? Certain things like we took the current mail message, right? So those things I'll have to maybe do a little bit of tweaking. It's not like completely 100%, but it is good enough that it will create you high level steps. So let's just analyze what it has done. So for each email with experience in subject. So I said that I want to filter the emails with experience in subject. So let's see if it took that filter criteria. See, it is the same thing which we did. Subject contains experience. So it did the same thing. Download email attachment. Here it did not take the current email message, but just like I did last time, I can just take current email. So sometimes it might do like almost 80-90% of your work. You might have to do a little bit customized. So I'll say current email. And then here again, it could not take the variables. I'll just say attachments. Okay. So this way I can use it. There's some other error, but let's ignore it for now. But see, basically what the point is that Autopilot is able to create my automation directly through my prompt. So that's how easy it is to create the automation. So again, here, if you go to templates, there are multiple other templates. Of course, if you see suppose this one, archive meeting invites every day at 8 p.m. So here, this will need an Outlook connection. Suppose I'm using this, it will ask me for the connection and I can customize it, or I can use the prompt for any specific needs. So there are multiple templates here, which are pre-built, or the easiest way is even to use Autopilot. So I would suggest you can use Autopilot to get started, and obviously you can then customize it as per your needs. Okay, so I think this were, so we already discussed, it's cross-platform as I said, and AI and document processing, like we use Autopilot. You can use document understanding and things as well. So there are basically three products mainly if you use UiPath. One is Studio Web, which we just saw today. Then there's a Studio X and Studio. So Studio Web has come lately, but if you are using UiPath, there's another way. This is a Studio. So this requires an installation. This is my Studio, and within Studio, I have another profile. I might use Studio X or Studio. Okay, so Studio X and Studio difference. The only difference is that Studio X is more for the business users who are not that tech savvy. So just like in Studio Web, I give a little bit of text and it's easy to use. Whereas Studio is for developers who need more control on the automation. Okay, so you just need to be aware that there are three kinds of IDEs or development environments for Studio. You use Studio Web today, but you can also use Studio X or Studio for your development. So Studio X and Studio are desktop based, whereas Studio Web just needs a browser basically. Okay. And another thing is here we are using suppose Windows, but cross-platform browser you can use on any system, any. Okay, so just to get you started, you just create an account on UiPath and Studio Web should be enabled for you and you can start working. Okay, I will just skip through this in the interest of time. And we discussed about Autopilot. So text to workflow. Autopilot can also help you create expressions. So suppose you want to create certain criteria or expressions that Autopilot can also help. And yeah, just like in any prompt-based LLM, you have to be specific. You have to give a clear instruction. If you don't give a clear instruction, it will not understand, right? Or you will might need to refine your prompt basically. Okay, and then you have to fix the errors which we did there. We didn't get the time to publish the automation, but I'll quickly show you. It'll hardly take a minute. So if I come here, if I go to the workspace, I think this is the one we created, right? Yeah, this is the one. So first of all, so first time when you open it, takes us just a few seconds to load the connection. So now it is available. Okay. And let me go here. What I'll do is first I'll rename this. So I just did a right click. Okay. And then if you want to publish, what you have to do is see, till now we were just testing, but real world, when you need to expose it to everyone, you'll have to publish it. So you just click on this publish. Publish means you're deploying basically. So I might deploy where I want to deploy. I might to deploy on my personal feed or tenant feed. So tenant is like if I'm working only for myself, I'll use tenant feed. Sorry, personal feed means suppose I'm still doing some testing, I'll use personal feed. If I'm ready and I'm happy with my flow, then I'll use a tenant feed. So let's say tenant feed automatically take the 1.00 version. If you do any changes, it will increment to 101 and so on. So you know what is happening. So now I'm publishing. Okay, it's published. So now it's published. So what exactly it means is if I go to again UiPath and go to Orchestrator. So if I come here and if I click on add process to see demo email projects. Now I have to add this project here. So I'll take this project here. Now this is available here and it's showing it's an automate RPA process package 1.0. Entry point is main.xaml, just like I mentioned earlier. It requires certain connections. So again, I'll have to say, I'll have to take that connection and do next, and I'll be able to finish it. I'll give the name. I can give a priority as well, critical, high, and so on. In case there are multiple processes, then it will take based on the priority. So I'll say for now, I'll not start it, but once I publish it, it's available here. Basically, that package is available. Then I just need to do this next, and make it available. Now it's available for me to run. Here from here, I can run and so on. So I think we have 5 minutes. I'll stop now and take any questions which are there. Vidya, are there any questions or anyone?
I don't see any questions on the chat box. Please feel free to use the raise hand option. You can even ask the question. If you're not comfortable asking the question, you can write the question on the chat box.
Yeah, and I will not. I'm not your professor who will scold, so feel free to ask
Any questions? Yeah.
I know that your professors don't scold these days, but still. So this is a mixed audience, right? Or are they from a particular single college, or it's a mixed audience?
No, it's a mixed.
Okay,
We
okay.
have students from our Student Developer Champion program.
Okay, okay.
And also there are few other colleges who they might
Okay.
be
And
doing
I'm
this
sure,
outreach.
yeah, students these days are not shy. So in case I'm sure there'll be some questions, but I think somebody has to start.
Yeah. Please feel free to write the question on the chat box at least.
If there are no questions, I can ask questions as well. Just to understand that if people understood what we did today.
Yeah, I think we can do that. Then
Okay.
they will be comfortable chatting using the chat box at least.
Okay, sure. So, all right. So during my demo, what I mentioned was I created an automation and I told Studio why we are using Studio Web. Can anyone tell me what are the two advantages of using Studio Web versus Studio Desktop? Anyone? I don't know if there are any prizes, but I guess we should keep some.
Yeah.
Okay, there's one question from Ramona. I get errors when I try to use Google Workspace. Can you suggest a solution? So Ramona, we'll have to see your specific issue, but what I would suggest is, okay, yeah, one quick thing. Good, you asked a question. So suppose, see, I also run into issues. So your one-stop stop for any issues is click on UiPath, search like this, UiPath forums, and suppose see like any prompt what you want to give. And suppose I'm saying not able to download. So most likely what will happen is you'll get that problem which somebody else has faced if you go to Studio Web. So I just search on this in Google. Okay. And then you'll get the link for this forum.uipath.com. So forum.uipath.com is the place where you can ask all your queries. And this is even moderated by UiPath. And there will be always people who will be helping you. And you can, suppose you get solution, you might get your solution from the problem right by reading through someone who has already faced. But in case you don't get that solution, you can come here. You just need to create an account and then do a new topic. Just categorize where it is. So suppose you want help, right? So not a job post, but automation problem. Yeah, the first one. Question. Then select the product. So suppose just say studio or whatever, and then just 2-3 things. So give that option, and then write your problem there. And I can guarantee you within few minutes, there'll be people who will help you there. So people are very active here. And one more thing I want to tell you is UiPath Academy, which I think you should be aware. But if you go to UiPath Academy and search for the Studio Web or other topics, you should be able to get similar information as well here. So for your particular problem, what I would suggest is either post in forum, and I'm sure you get an help. If there is something different, then we can see it later also. Okay, Naitik has an answer. No installation needed. Directly runs on the browser. Yes, that is correct. And it's cross OS compatible, right? You can, because it's running on a browser, you can run on Linux and things like that as well. And it's very easy to use basically. Because as you see, it didn't require more of technical knowledge. I just had it's very intuitive to use, right? I just need to describe, and with Autopilot, it's very, very easy. With Autopilot, you just tell what you need, and based on that, it will create your automation. So it's very, very easy now to create the automations as well. You just have to give you a proper prompt and you should be up and running.
I will just stop the recording before we take up the next question.
Yeah.